And keep that applause going for Kona Morris. Here she comes, everybody.
It's October 2019. My long-term boyfriend had spent like a year begging me to plan a group trip to Japan. The last time he and I went, we had such an awesome time that it had actually saved our relationship. I hate group trips because I always end up feeling responsible for keeping everybody happy, which can be very stressful. But he finally talks me into it, and we go. We arrive, so there's supposed to be 6 of us, and then it turns into 10, but whatever. I book everything, we get to Japan. The first thing we do is go to my favorite bar, and we see the manager. And he immediately says, "Kona, you really shouldn't be here right now, because Japan is about to be hit by the largest typhoon since 1959. Yeah. Now, there had been nothing in the weather when I checked before we left, but it was true. A Category 5 super typhoon was coming from the Philippines, and it was on a direct path for Tokyo. I was just beside myself with worry. This is literally my nightmare. I'm responsible for 10 people, and there's a natural disaster coming. But my boyfriend was unfazed. I think his exact words were, "Whatever you want to do, babe, we trust you," before running off to an anime store and leaving me to make all the decisions. So I get to researching, and I find out that our options are to either stay in Tokyo, where the typhoon is supposed to hit, or we can go to Nagano a day early. And apparently there had never been a typhoon that hit Nagano before, ever. I even found an article entitled, "As if shielded by magical protection bubble, Nagano has once again been spared." So all the trains, all the planes, all transportations closed the next day, canceled the next day. So those are our options. So I'm like, all right, that sounds good. I head to the train station to change our tickets, but I have to wait in line for hours. And while I'm there, I start second guessing if we should go to Nagano. So I translate a bunch of questions, and I'm ready to show the clerk when I get up to the front of the line. And he translates his responses. "Yes, very dangerous. Evacuations will occur. No, we can't know exactly where the typhoon will go." But then I ask, if the typhoon goes to Nagano, will we be safe there? And his response is immediate and certain: no. So I follow up with, if the typhoon comes to Tokyo, are we safer here? And he says, yes, definitely. Tokyo has infrastructure, and a typhoon could just, demolish a rural area like in Nagano. So I make the executive decision for all of us to stay. And I am just so scared. The first thing I do is go to our hotel, and I say, "Can this hotel withstand a Category 5 super typhoon?" But they just shrug and say, "Hope so." And I find out that all the restaurants and stores are closing the next day, and the entire city is just frantically gathering supplies. We managed to put together some mystery snacks, and we find these emergency rain outfits. They're like full body ponchos. And so I barely sleep that night. And when I wake up in the morning, Tokyo has been turned into a rainy ghost town. In a city of nearly 14 million, there is not a single person on the streets. The typhoon has made landfall, and there are images of destruction on every single channel. Just thatched roofs being ripped up, street signs flying by horizontally, rivers flooding, landslides. There's a rising death count. And what they're issuing is this warning. They say everybody needs to either evacuate or move to the highest floor in the nearest sturdy building to avoid imminent danger. And it is still on course to hit us in Akihabara, Tokyo. So I am just a nervous wreck, and the closer the typhoon gets, the windows start to rattle. And it's right about then that my boyfriend decides it's going to be fun to put on the emergency rain outfits and go run around outside. And I am just livid after all the stress, everything I'm doing to try to keep us safe. But I can't convince him otherwise. And just defeated, I go back to our hotel room and I keep listening to the news. And it is just a countdown until this typhoon is going to hit us. It's 20 minutes before the strongest part of the typhoon, the eye wall of the typhoon, is set to hit us. It suddenly pivots and it goes and hits Nagano instead, demolishing the entire town where we were going to be. I could not fathom it. My boyfriend comes back up, and he's just sopping wet, completely oblivious to how narrowly we were spared. We find out that bridges collapsed, train tracks were ripped up, and the tourists there were stranded for weeks. The next morning, we wake up and the storm has passed and we are saved, but this time our relationship was not. Some people get red flags that it's time to break up. I got a Category 5 super typhoon. Thank you.
Kona. Keep it going for Kona.